Hi, Eva here. So I'm back with part 2 of my demo on how to paint pink tulips in watercolor, and I'm just speeding through the demo of how I paint in the greens of the leaves and the stems using my French ultramarine blue, transparent yellow, Antwerp blue, and sometimes I'll tone down my greens with putting in a little bit of the pink in the green if I feel they need to be toned down, especially in the darker areas. And I feel it helps the painting to start with doing the greens. It gives you kind of the structure of the painting and makes it easier to paint in the flower heads afterwards, which I'll demo right after this is finished.
So you can see this is as far as I got. I got color on all of them and I got some shading on all of them. And I'll have to go in and, doctor some of them up a little bit. You'll always find that there's places where you have to make up what's light, what's dark. So lift up a little bit or put a little bit more dark on. But overall, it's a good beginning.
So when you say lift up, it's really just a damp brush?
Yeah, it's just a clean damp brush. And then you, oops, don't want to do that. You just, not wet. Don't do like this. You're going to get water everywhere and you're going to make damp and get those droplets off too. And then say if I thought I kind of lost a little bit of the highlight here, for instance, very gently, not with a scrubber brush or anything, especially since, I'm using French ultramarine blue and cobalt blue as part of my blues. Can you see how I already got that a little bit lighter? And you don't need the big guns. Most of the time you can just use a BB gun. They'll get a job done. And if you can always do it again if it wasn't enough. So try to restrain yourself and just don't go fixing a whole bunch of stuff before you have evaluated, because a lot of times, and don't fix things halfway through the painting because you don't really know if it needs fixing yet. That's really part of it's hard not to do. So let's just start with this loose one down here. So I'm going to put water in it because I'm going to try very hard not to lose that looseness that I really like. And let's see, what do I have on here? Some sort of pink on, but it's maybe a little too strong. I want it not too strong. So let's just see here what we can do. So I just put a little bit more in. Oops, I wet the tulip head, and then I kind of like that light edge there, and let's just pull it down here a little bit more, just to fine tune it a little bit more. There, I like that. That's fine. And maybe I should make myself a little bit of a more lavender color over here. So I'm putting a little bit of cobalt blue in, the pink, and can see how you can kind of indicate some little edges. Don't do too much. That's really the biggest temptation here is just tell too much. Okay. So, and I also have this one over here, so why don't we also give that one a little. So first I like to give them a little water inside, just so things flow and I don't get hard edges. So there's that. Let's put a little bit, and again I like that white on that side, so. And let's put a little bit of that lavender in here. Maybe on that side. Just a little bit. I have a little pink on there. You can always put more paint on. It's harder to take it off. Lift that out.
Yeah, it comes right out.
So there. I kind of like that. And can you see by just that little tiny hint of that lavender, it gives a nice little kind of separation, or a little bit of like
an impression of it.
Yeah, exactly. And going in kind of. and I should leave that alone. I like this. When these things happen, you know, you quickly evaluate the same happened there, but I liked it. Then I just leave it. If I don't like it, you can get rid of it, you know. All right, so in here, let's try to doctor this one up a little bit. So, get a little bit of...
So you're doing on dry?
Yeah, right now I'm doing on dry. And rinse out my brush. Lift that out. So I want to, you know, have it a little bit darker here. And maybe I'll do a little bit of that lavender. Especially here. So I can kind of push out that other tulip that's there. And I didn't like that hard line, so before it gets too hard, I soften it out. There's that. And there's a little hair, I think. Or is it? Maybe it's... Is it a pencil line? I guess it is. Yeah, I guess it is. Okay, so here, there's another one that I could... So it's kind of like I'm going from the bigger areas to the smaller areas, you know, breaking them up into smaller areas. So I'm seeing here, there is a separation between two petals, right? So I'm putting in a little bit of color. I have pink, and then there's a little tiny bit of the cobalt in. There. So that kind of separated those two. And then there is another one. I don't know, kind of feeling down here is maybe a little too hard. So I'll get rid of that line. I didn't really like that. Too much line. So there, soften it up. And then here, I'm gonna grab this one. And again, I have a little bit more of that lavender. I think that's about right. Maybe it should be a little pinker. There. Dab, dab. Could have a little bit more there, couldn't I? And then see, I got a little bit of a bleed back there because I wasn't careful enough, but I don't really mind it. So I'm just gonna put in a little bit more and diffuse it down here. Clean it out. So you can see it's very important that you have your brush clean when you want to loose edges, otherwise you're just putting in too much pigment. I think I kind of want to do it like this, like that. And then up here, what do I have? Still have, so I want a little bit more of a lavender, but still pinkish. Up here is some little tiny kind of dark areas. You know, of course it's like the inside of the tulip. I like that. If we like it, we'll leave it. Okay, so then there's another dark area. There's not very many dark areas in this, but here is one of those where you're looking in this area here. You know, you can see kind of like the inside of the petal a little bit.
So you're dry brushing this again?
This, yeah, this it's not dry brushing, but I'm wet on dry.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's such a tiny area, it's going to be very difficult to control it if I put on
Any water?
Yeah. So here, that could really be darker than that, because it's one of the darkest areas in the florals that I have right here. So I better take advantage, and I could also doctor this up a little bit more before it dries. There. Okay. And then now I'm gonna be brave. I put a little tiny bit of that color on. Rinse it out good.
Or did you turn your phone on?
Pardon me?
Did you turn your phone on?
Yeah, I
Okay,
did.
sorry.
I did. Thanks for asking. Appreciate it, because I do forget sometimes. And I'm going to do a little bit more pinkish here. And you can see I'm operating with very little color. Do that Just like that. Split that up.
So are these going to be a lot more pale than these ones here?
Yeah, much more, because it's not the, this was just a different painting. This I wanted to keep very loose and kind of etherical a little bit. And if you want to do more color on, you certainly can. It's just my intention with this one was really to keep it very, very light. So I'm also seeing that here I could separate a little bit. And it becomes easier as you start finding the shapes. So there.
That's the hard part with the leaves. Let's finding the shape.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And here, and then we can put a little bit of color on this side here to bring out that. It's no different than when we did the leaves, actually, you know, light behind, you know, dark behind light. To just kind of, and see how now I can really see that there was a petal there. I thought there was. Drag that down. I like to have those little sparkle white ones, and I did not like that shape, so I'm going to take it away. Can you see how it's beginning to, I mean, it's that, it's, you know, I'm going for that kind of blushy, pinky.
Pinky orchid.
Yeah, pinky. So I'm now feeling that I actually need to darken even a little bit more here and a little bit more here. So I put a little bit of the Antwerp into my pink. That's going to give you a darker purple.
Yeah, just nice shadow.
Yeah, because you know you got to have some darks. Can't all be light. But I don't want to lose that ethereal feeling. What do I have on here?
It looks so soft.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do.
It's working.
That's what I'm trying to do, because that's kind of like what I had in mind for this one. So, like this, and then maybe just kick in a little bit of that really bright pink, and then just lose it as we go up. Just be a hint there, and
what color are you planning for the pot?
the plot is going to be kind of white, but I'm not going to leave it white. So I'm actually going to have all the colors. Let me just finish this one.
Oh yeah, no, I was just curious.
Yeah, no, and then I'm going to show you how to do the pot.
Like a terracotta pot.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be terracotta because I don't feel it goes with
with the pink.
With the pink. So here I can put a little bit of that in. Yeah. You can always add color, so that's why I'm being very conservative as far as, you know, putting too much color in right now. And then down here can be a little bit darker, why not? And then if I drag it up, just to give it more shape. Can you see that? And then kind of dissipate into nothing, and maybe even throw a little bit of pink in. How fun was that? Like it. Okay, and then this one tells me that it needs to be a little darker here, just to give it a little bit more oomph. There. A little bit of darkness there too. This is, you know, being a little fussy, but so I'm going to, and so let me just show you a couple here. So here I can see some of those petals that are peeking up behind. So that's another area where I have the opportunity to kind of put a little bit more color in to bring the front ones out more. So there's that. And always lighter at the top because, you know, they catch more light, and darker down here because they are away from the light. Let's see. Darken that a little bit. There. And if I do the same, so what do I have? Oh, I have one more dark here, I do believe. Yeah. So this time I'm just gonna, instead of just water, I could just have put water on, but I can put pigment on so I can see where it is. And then I'm gonna go in, be brave, and dab some of that dark purpley color in. And see, when I can catch it right here where it's still damp, it'll spread by itself. It does the best job when it does it like that. And this was actually more what I was going for right here at the bottom. And I think it's still, can you see how it's beginning to?
Oh yeah.
And then this is away from the light, so we can give it a little bit more color on the outside of this thing. And then rinse it out before it dries on me. Pull that in like that. Put a little bit more in right here. There. So slowly but surely. And then let me show you the pot. So the flowers are all like, I'm gonna do them all kind of like that. Very, very light color on, and just separate a little bit. And every time, like where you have a line that indicates that one petal is overlapping another. Now here, this is the overlapping one. So I put a little bit of color next to it on the petal that's behind it. And then right away, don't want to leave your brushes in like that, before it dries on me. And you could put a little water in if you need that for. See, then I take care of that line so it just gradually dissipates out. And then I've already told you, this is in front, that's behind. And if it's not quite enough, if you feel it's still a little kind of wishy-washy, but it's still damp, you can put in a little bit more color. See, I put a little bit more of a lavenderish down here at the bottom. And there's actually another petal here I could bring out right away while I'm at it. Get that color off. There. And we can always go in and put more color on if we need to some places. Like, you know, I'll probably put a little bit more color on this side again, because I'm thinking that's away from the light and that'll help me push this petal out. So let's try it. So pink. So my pink is opera and in my permanent rose. And now here, since I want to have it on the shadow side, I put a little bit of the cobalt blue in to make it a little bit of a bluer. So put a little bit more down at the bottom here. Rinse out my brush. Dab it on my towel. And again, you could have put some water on it. I think I can make it happen before it dries on me. And then goes behind here. There we have it. Goes up like that. And I could even push it a little bit more down here. Of course, this is kind of really away from the light, so there could be a little bit more color on down there. So, and talk to yourself while you do this, it helps. So here, there's some of those little ones. So I just put, it's kind of like I put a little V down, or a little triangle down in the depth, and then I just kind of pull it up. So a little here.
And you're taking a darker color and pulling it up.
Yeah. So I clean my brush, and so there. And there will be another one here. And it's a little too much water maybe. But you can see that, and I can darken it as needed. Dab in a little bit there, dab in a little bit there. And then when they are dry, I can go in and paint these here. And actually I could darken a little bit right behind here, just to bring that petal out that's in the front there. And then there's this V here we can do. This little V here. So basically by painting this little tiny piece of petal, I can see I'm actually telling you about the other petals that are in front. I'm bringing out the top edges of those. And then I want to pull it out into nothing, because I'd like to have that a little light against that. And you know, I probably will have to doctor those up a little bit, meaning darken them a little bit once they're dry. If I do it now, probably not the best. Of course, then it's all gonna run together. And I don't like this, it shouldn't be white down here. I'm gonna put a little bit color on there. And then right away, like that, lose it. Slowly but surely. Okay, let me show you the vase. The vase is fast and furious. Big brush, put water on, avoid the leaves. Yeah. And then a little bit here. So there we are. Let's see. So I always leave myself, as you can see, a little bit of space to the lines. Otherwise, you know, the water and the pigment, they're going to creep in. And so the shadow side would be here. And I basically want to say that it's pretty much white. But, so let's go in here. Cobalt blue, a little bit of the pink in it. And then I'm going to take a little tiny bit of the yellow. It's probably too much, but that's okay. I want kind of more of a grayish color. You see here? You get a gray or muddy color. It's not really muddy, but when you mix all three primaries together. So I want kind of like a non-color, but on the cool side. So then I'm just gonna go in here. That's the shadow side of it. And that's also gonna help, because then it's gonna make the whites that we leave shine more when we take away these other whites. So here, that's fine. Down here, it'll be a little darker here. And then get right through the leaf there. We want to go in here. Right underneath the leaves, you know, it's going to be kind of in the shadow, because they're going to block the light. So there's that. It's also going to be a little bit darker down here at the bottom. And now I'm going to rinse it out. Dab it. Rinse it out a little bit more. And pull it all together. I don't want it all, you know, completely white here. Of course, it's not about the vase. The vase is just there to hold the flowers. So whatever white I leave, I'd rather have it up there in the florals. And then I do like to go in, just give it a little bit, just so it's not so boring. I could also go in and do a little bit of that. Just to give it a little color variance. And so it's kind of like reflecting the colors that are in the flowers and stuff, and I did kind of a crappy job here but that's okay. Worst case scenario, make the thing wider. So that's that for now. And then, while this is still damp, I like to make myself a good shadow color. So let's just use the pink here. use a little bit of this pink, and then let's use the blues, and with here's a little bit of yellow in. I wouldn't mind if it kind of gets grayed down a little bit. So I'm basically dabbing around in the colors that are already in my painting, but I'm aiming for kind of a purpley color without being, I don't want it too bright. That's why I'm kind of toning it down with some of those little tiny bit of yellow. Yellow and purple are complementary colors, so grade it down a little bit. And then I like to put this in. So it's going to be the shadow, this thing. I like to put it in while the vase is maybe still a little bit damp. Just like that. That's good enough. Just kind of that sits it down on the table or whatever it's standing on. And
Do you paint the table?
yeah, I want to distinguish it from the top,
Okay.
from the background there. So I have to make up my mind what I want to do. So I'm gonna make even a little bit of a grayer color, I think.
You just add a bunch of yellow.
Yeah, just took a little bit of yellow in there. I don't want it dark, and it would probably have been better if I'd done it before, but it's okay. Before I put the shadow on. I just don't want it too dark. I just want to have a little bit.
Just a sense that there's something.
Yeah. And again, I want it kind of like a non-color. You know, this is not a painting where you would want to go and put on really strong colors here, because that's completely going to take away from the
Flowers.
flowers, since I'm keeping those delicate. There. And it should be a little bit darker over
That's
here.
nice.
There. And I'm probably going to get a little bit of a bleed back there because I had a wet brush. Let's see if we can take care of that before it happens. But I'm not too concerned about that. But that way,
Oh, that's really pretty.
it's, you know, kind of goes with the delicate flowers.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I'm going to let you go work on yours while you remember. And then when the vase is dry, I'm going to put the cast shadows on.
Okay.
And I'm going to wrap this thing up.
So here I sped up the video again, so you can see how I am painting in all the different petals on the tulip heads, and I am using my opera rose for the lighter parts, and a few places I use permanent rose, and I also have my opera rose toned down and to a more lavender color with a little bit of the cobalt blue. And then for the little dark areas that you can see I'm painting right there, I use my permanent magenta. That's such a good color to put darks on reds and on pinks. And I'm putting it in right where the top of the petals meet the top of the petals behind, so that you get a sense of the depth of the tulips, and you can see how the little petals are separated, and you know they'll cast little shadows on each other, and it'll be darker inside the tulip than it is on the outside, because you know the light can't go all the way down into the depth of the tulip. So that's what I'm doing right there, and it helps really give the shape of the tulips when you put the darks in. But I don't want to lose the airy light feeling of the pink tulips, so I try to be a little sparing with the darks as I go along and paint in these little areas. But it also really helps set off the individual leaves, helps me split them up, and make sure that I lose the edges. I don't want too many hard edges. The only hard edges that I really want is when it's, you know, defining one petal from another. So that's a little time consuming, but you know, that's what it takes to get this painting really to sing. And I want to keep it very, very light, because that was my intention with this painting. And I might paint this one again and then use some different colors and do them much brighter, and it will give it a whole different character. So you can use the same drawing many times and interpret it differently. I like to do that because I love to paint. I'm not super crazy about drawing, but you know, for a painting like this, I find it's easiest if I have some pencil lines and I have a structure so I know where I'm going. So that's what I'm continuing to do here, and if it gets too tedious for you, you can just speed through this part and then pick up when I put the final touches on.
So, unfortunately, my camera cut out, so you didn't see me put on those 3 cast shadows, but I just used the same shadow color that I used down here. Dark, slightly grayed down purple, created by the 2 pinks and the blues that I have on my palette, and then just put those in underneath. And I try to put them on a little bit darker right underneath, and then slightly lighten them up. And you saw I sped through where I put the color on all the different petals. So now it's basically done, but I feel like it needs a little bit more of a tweak. And I noticed that this little petal here, I've got to paint that. So I'll put a little bit of color on. It's on the lighter side of the tulips because it's towards the light. So I'll just put a little hint of the upper rose on. Make it a little brighter there. Just, I mean, it's barely any color because, you know, I want to keep these petals light and kind of airy. And then I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, it's a lot of pink. Pink, 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 pink everywhere. So I'm feeling tempted to just doctor it up slightly. So I'm going to take a little bit of my transparent yellow, and I have some of my cobalt blue, and I'm going to make a very springy green. That's a lovely green I got there. Look at that, how pretty that is. And I don't know, I'm just gonna risk it. I'm feeling that, you know, sometimes you'll see a little bit of green left over on some of the cover petals. And so I'm going to try and put a little tiny bit of green here. How about that? Just like that. I like it. I mean, you don't have to do that. If this is just like freaking you out, don't do it. But you know me, I have to kind of live a little bit on the edge, I think. So since I thought that was kind of successful, I'm actually going to do another one here. Just a little bit. You know, I'm not going to turn it all green by any stretch of the imagination, but just putting a little bit of a hint of that light spring green on here to say that there's a little bit of that still left on these outer petals that covered the bud. So, that was a lot. Right away, go in, kind of lift it out. Just see that little hint? I think that's really nice. Let me lift it up so you can see it. Can you see that? It gives them a little bit more, there's a little bit more life to them now. So here, I'm just carrying on, because I think here on this one, there would be a little bit like that too. And you can see I go in with a clean brush that's just barely damp and just lift it out again. And I think there could be a little bit, do it wet into wet. on this one. There. Right away. Lift it out. Soften the edge. There. There we have it. And then spread the love, spread the green. So I'm going to do a little bit here. Like that, up there. I have a feeling that this is pretty intense, so I better water it down just a little bit. There. Here I want to have a little bit on that tip. There. There we have it. Can you see it? It's not that much, and that's the whole idea. I don't want to go, too crazy with this, but I think this is pretty good. Might even do a little bit down here, just a hint, right there. And so I'm doing it in a very transparent manner, and you can see by doing it like this, even though, green and red, they're complementary colors and they would normally gray each other out, but I have it so light and the green is leaning very much towards the yellow that I don't have a problem. All right, so I think that really, really helped it out. And now I might go back and do a few more of those little darker areas to just kick it up a notch. So let's see. So I'll use my Opera Rose, and I'm gonna make it a little bit darker with that permanent magenta that I've been using to darken the pink areas. And light's coming from there. So I think I'll go and do a little bit like maybe there. Just do little tiny areas at a time. Yeah, see how that just, I did that one. So it's very important that you remember to lose the edges when you do this. And then this one, I want to tell that this petal is actually overlapping the other petal here. And so I'm going to bring that shadow color around here and up here, a little bit further down there, and down on this side. And I think here could be a little darker, actually. So I'm just going to find a couple of spaces and places where I can just intensifying a little bit. Now I'm putting a little bit of that Opera Rose in because I don't want it to look too purpley. So I'd like to have that pink shine through. Rinse my brush and so keep that light edge. Can you see that? Just brought it out a little bit more. And then in here, let's see, make it more pink. In here, my feeling is I could really use a little bit more contrast there. And right away, before it dries on me, I could have gone in and wet it, but I'm taking a chance here. Thinking that I can get around, which I can. There. Look how that is nice. Darken that up a little bit. It'll be a little darker down here. It's away from the light. I like it. Go here. Darken it a little bit there. Yeah. I think I need to clean this edge up a little bit. There. Lift out with a tissue. All right. Yeah, that helped. And so now I'm getting braver. I'm going to do a little bit over here on this one. That also needs a little bit more dimension. I think they're looking a little flat to me. And that's because I'm missing the darks. And even though I want to keep that very, very nice, light, airy feel, we still need some darks some places. There's just no getting around it. And so here could also be just a hint. And so I'm using that color that I made from permanent magenta and then the opera rose there. Into the background a little bit there. And now I'm going to go darker. I'm just dipping my tip into the permanent magenta. I want to darken a little bit here, these little areas. There. And then have a brush with clean water and just kind of loose the edge. There's that. Up here. Clean it out. And this one definitely needs to be a lot darker. There. Right down there. Yeah, that worked out well. And then on this side, so we can really see the tips here of those front petals. There you go. And we've got to kick it up a notch more here. Clean out my brush. It's very important that you clean out your brush as you're doing these things, because otherwise you're just dragging pigment the whole way and you're not losing any edges. So clean, 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 and clean is really the mantra. There's that. Okay. And it could even be a little bit maybe here. And it's very important that you lose those edges. Otherwise it starts looking just outline, and that's not really that attractive. And then on here, there. This one, a little bit more definition. There you go. And then down here, there. That. I'm really happy that I put that green on. I like it a lot better now. I think it still has that delicate look, but it's a little fresher. There. And clean my brush, lift it out. There's that. And then down here and here, couple more little areas. And if you have trouble softening the edges here, you might consider putting in a little bit of water first, if you don't feel that you get to it before it dries as a hard edge. So that's definitely an option. And then we want to do a little bit more dramatic in here, in all these little areas that are inside the back side of this tulip. There's a whole bunch of little petals that are not quite opened yet, and so inside the tulip here will be dark. Let's see how that worked out. To have that, it's too much water. There. And then we need to do it down here too. And a little bit down here. And loose the edges, always loose the edges, loose the edges. Clean your brush. So this is just the final little tweaking of this old painting. And see here, feel that we could go down, create a little bit of a shadow here. There's that. And on this one here, we can also go down, just kick up the drama a little tiny bit. Loose the edge this way, and then loose it this way. Put a little bit of the pink on. There. That opera rose. Just to make sure we get a little bit of color on. And let's do it down here too. There. And here. Clean. And then loose the edge. And drag it in here. You can see if you don't clean your brush, you're just continuing to dab the color around, and you want to get back to white. That's the whole idea. Put some of that opera rose on here. And then loose the edge like that. And then this little area, we have some more dark to put on, don't we? Here, inside this area, definitely would be dark. This is inside the petal. And be a little bit darkness here. Drag that around like that. And then here. And loose the edge again. Clean it. Make sure when you clean it, make sure that you go on a towel and take that extra water off, because you don't want to flood your little areas. And then I'm thinking we need a little darkness right here. Just put a little bit on. It's too wet. A little bit on, and then I can put a little bit more on now that it's wet. Drag that out. And see, that's that tulip that kind of disappears into the background. I have a couple of them, right? That one and that one. They're just disappearing into the background. That's the whole idea with those, that they have soft edges. You can't really see exactly where they are. You want to darken a little bit more here. Feel it needs it. Rinse my brush. Maybe put a little bit of that opera rose on. And a little bit of that opera rose. Whoops. Maybe that was a little bit more than I wanted. Not to panic. Opera rose is a pretty forgiving color, actually. It's easy to lift.
So as you can see, I am just putting the final touches on here, lifting out a little color here and there, putting in a little bit of darker color in a few spots. But for the sake of this demo, I will call it done, and I hope you have a lot of fun painting this little painting. Experiment with the colors, and wishing you happy painting. Thank you for watching.